Okay, Clive, we'll let you come back to that.
Just a very short supplementary one. The reason most of us are here to start with is your original comment in the paper about Mr Ainsworth believes HS2 will bring massive benefits to the city. You just seem to sort of swap that about now, that we won't suffer. What's happened to the massive benefits part?
I think it will be beneficial for Coventry.
How?
Well, Coventry is a city, as I said, in the heart of England, which needs good transport links to the main other economic generators of the country. The biggest by far is the southeast. We need access to the southeast and the businesses in the southeast. The biggest exit point for the country, bar none, is Heathrow Airport. We could do with better links to Heathrow Airport. The great cities of the north, the northwest, which still has a huge engineering capability. We need good links. And Jerry says, we're paying £30-odd million for 11 minutes off the Birmingham line. £30-odd billion is for the whole of the line, right up north. It's not for the first bit. Jerry conveniently leaves off that he's counted the second half of high speed 2 in his £30-odd billion, not just the first part.
Apology, fair to say, there was a slip of the tongue. It's 17.4 billion to Birmingham, unless you take John Sabin's figure, which is 34.7 just to Birmingham. But the whole figure that Philip Hammond's quoted is 33 billion.
Oh, can I just pick up on something that Jerry raised earlier? He said there is an alternative £2 billion scheme to upgrade the West Coast Main Line, which was commissioned by the Department for Transport. You and I know Lord Adonis challenged that, saying they're not figures that are recognisable, the words you used. Why did the Department for Transport throw out that idea of upgrading the West Coast Main Line as an alternative for just £2 billion, a fraction of the 17 billion for the West Coast Main Line?
Well, if we just care to cast our minds back, we've been upgrading the West Coast Main Line for the last, 5, 6 years at huge disruption. We have spent a fortune on a realignment of a lot of the tracks and a complete new signalling system. The Department of Transport doesn't accept those figures. Lord Adonis was the Secretary of State for Transport. He rejected those figures. I frankly do not believe that there is massive expansion that is available on the West Coast Main Line. Yes, you could tinker around with it. Yes, you could potentially get Virgin to reconfigure their trains. You can get a little bit more out of an existing system. But you will not get the kind of figures that Jerry is talking about, 65%, uplifting capacity. And if you do, if you do try to just squeeze more out, you will squeeze everything else off the line as you force people to move aside for the express service. So the cross-country services down to Bournemouth, and the south coast and up to Leeds and whatever have you will be squeezed off the line. The Centro services, into the West Midlands will be squeezed off the line in order to make way for an increased provision of express trains. We are already doing that now. We're already denying people access to the line because the express service takes priority and has to be given first preference.
Can I just respond to that and saying RP2 produces a potential extra capacity of 138%, so very substantial. That includes dealing with 5 pinch points, so it's not the whole of the West Coast Main Line, and the massive disruption, as Bob rightly says, we experience 5 particular pinch points and changes in the rolling stock that increases capacity, and that excludes going up to a 12-car configuration, which is also possible with some platform extension, and it excludes the benefit of the in-cab signalling, which will improve the potential for frequency.
Okay, so
I do live along the line of the track, and the first thing I'd like to take issue with is Bob Ainsworth's dismissal of the views of people who live on the track, while at the same time saying that if it was coming near his house, he would have read the detailed documents. Well, I would suggest you do read the detailed documents, and you'll find that the people that live along the line of the track are actually the most informed people on this debate. Second thing I observe is this whole concept of HS2 as being environmentally friendly. One of the main protagonists of this scheme is Birmingham Airport, and they envisage bringing huge numbers of flying customers up and down from London and the Great London Conurbation, so that they can fill their extended runway with lots of long-haul flights. It's impossible to reconcile HS2 with a more environmentally friendly environment. Nonsense.
Well, I mean, it is, if you are going to accept that you are going to stop people from travelling. I mean, if we say that we can suppress people's ability and right to travel, then you can have a more environmentally friendly world. And there are people in Friends of the Earth who are opposed to high speed too. But they're equally opposed to motorways. They're opposed to motor cars. They believe that we ought to all go back and live in some idyllic, time that existed long ago. Now, if we try to do that, our standard of living, our ability to make our way in the world, will be hugely, damaged. But I'm not dismissive of the views of the people on the line, and I know that when these things happen, because I've dealt with campaigns over the full length of my political time.
And when do you dismiss the views of the people most involved?
I've never dismissed the views, and I've got huge sympathy for the views. But what I have always done is not accepted what are potentially biased views. I don't know how you cease to be biased. If the line was going through my house, I wouldn't be impartial. If you want a proper evaluation of the pros and cons of any particular proposal, then pick up an impartial person. Don't pick up a person who's going to wind up with an express train running at the bottom of their garden. How can they be impartial? I don't blame them for that. I don't dismiss them. I sympathise with them, but I don't believe they start off from an impartial position.
Jerry, can I just say on that HS2 Action Alliance produced a review of the business case for HS2, which has been peer-reviewed by a completely impartial, independent consultancy who have backed up all the figures within it, and it completely blasts the HS2 case as crazy. So do look at that document, it's on the website.
Didn't you just say, when you were describing the government's business case, that you can ask for business cases that say what you want them to say?
Exactly, which is why this was peer-reviewed by an independent, impartial consultancy, produced by HS2, and then it went through an independent consultancy. So these figures stack up.